Hi everyone, I'm Soft Seaside and welcome to this new video. Please excuse me if I sound a bit weird today. Spring started and the pollen are back to attack me. Today I will guide you through the process of creating this drawing I made for my D&D character, Lunaria Luxanon. Do you know the anime Little Witch Academia? Do you know Diana? I saw her and I was like, oh my god, I need to make a character like her. If you know me well, you would know that I am very fond of super competent, bitch tsundere characters who have the biggest self-esteem issues ever. Like, I eat that up, and bonus points if they are blonde. So basically, I just wanted to make a blonde witch character who's very arrogant, but also has a stupid big-ass witch head. But then my friends and I talked about that we wanted to play a one-shot in Mythic Odysseys of Theros, which is inspired by Greek mythology. So I thought I could just revamp her design and make her fit into this one-shot aesthetic of Greek mythology. For my fellow D&D players, she's a divine soul sorcerer and a nyxborn. For my non-D&D player, it just means that she has parents who are like gods, and this is why she has magic. And also she gets a very cool cloak, a magical cloak called Cloak of Stars, which is literally just the night sky, where every god is living. So I gave this cloak a huge hood that is supposed to look like a witch head. I mean, look at her. She's an angry gremlin, but with a huge head. I love it. The whole concept of her design is that she's supposed to represent sun and moon. So her hair glows when she's using magic. And depending on the daytime, her hair will be golden or it will be silver. She fits very in one of my aesthetic, the night, the moon, and glowy. I also think that a motif involving hair would be more interesting to other people because of her aesthetic appeal. And while my OCs mainly have cool stories, their designs don't always reflect that. I'm a comic artist first, but that's really something I have to improve on. So let's get finally to the speed painting. Just so you know, I recorded this with the Clip Studio time-lapse function because my computer would die otherwise. And the problem is that it doesn't zoom in when it takes your time-lapse, so maybe you can't see all the details that I'm working on. I will try to come up with a better solution. Maybe you have an idea or maybe it doesn't bother you. Please tell me. Okay, so here we have the first sketch. My idea for the drawing was that she's falling down. I really wanted to show her cloak and I wanted her to be surrounded with magical items. As you can see, I used the vector lines in Clip Studio because you see that the lines are always like shaking and transforming. And I used to do this a lot because I didn't have to draw the line again and could just correct it immediately. But now I don't really like that because it makes the drawing feel less natural. It's more like a construct that you're doing when a painting or a drawing. And I think because of that, the pose looks really stiff. That sketch was really old, like from 2021, so I also tried to make a new composition and tried to make the pose more interesting. Lately I feel like that my drawings lack an interesting or dynamic aspect and I find them very boring. So I tried to spice it up with a golden ratio. I wanted the drawing to have a bit of a flow and to guide the viewer. I'm not sure how to use it properly. I know the rule of thirds, but I never used this spiral thing, so I just drew along the line. Personally, I'm pretty proud of that pose, you know, like that leg and the arm that is stretching out, but it could have been better if I used a reference. I have never played Lunaria in a D&D campaign before, but I really like her design. I would like to give her like a cool introduction video, and I would love to make an introduction video for all of my D&D characters. As you can see, I tried to line already, but then I made a cleaner sketch because I realized that I couldn't recognize I haven't drawn Lunaria a lot, so I was super confused how her clothing works, so it's not so easy to wing it. When I draw comics, I normally just do a very fast sketch, because when you're drawing comics, the most important thing is to be fast, because you have to draw pages. But if you're drawing illustrations, you gotta be patient. Usually I don't like to clean up the sketch or make a cleaner sketch because my drawing tends to look very stiff, but in this case it was okay. Oh, that reminds me, I heard about this tip where you're supposed to make a clean sketch and then try to blur it, because if you blur the sketch, you don't feel like you have to trace your sketch, and it's supposed to make the line art a bit more freely and less stiff. So I would try that out at some point. And here goes the line art. As you can see, the lines are flickering again because I once again use vector lines. Vector lines themselves are not a problem, it's just how I use them, because when there's a line I don't like, I just try to move the anchor points. It makes the drawing very stiff, but very, very practical. Also, can I just say, I love when artists change up their line weight, for example, to show that something is closer or heavier, or when it's a shadow. And I love when the outer lines are thicker than the inner lines, the lines in the inside where all the details are. I love that. I really want to achieve that. I love artists where the art line is speaking for itself. So now we are drawing the flying objects, and I gotta be honest, I had no idea what to draw. Oh, by the way, the night sky that I just used for the cloak is just a random drawing I did a year ago. I was a bit lazy and just reused it. And here you can see me struggling with the hood. It was very important for me that it looks big because it's supposed to be like a witch hat, but it was so hard because I don't really know how hoods work. Should have looked up a reference, didn't do that. Learn from my mistakes. I also wanted it to be clear that it looks like a witch hat, so it was even harder. So here we can also see that I'm trying to adjust the line weight. When you're using vector lines in Clip Studio, you can adjust the line weight manually and don't have to draw over the line or draw another line, which is really cool. But I kind of want to draw my strokes more naturally again and learn how to use my line weight while I'm doing the stroke. Does this make sense? I don't know how to say it in English. Sorry, it's my third language and I am not in school anymore. It's a bit hard. By the way, to avoid on drawing on the wrong layer, I sometimes put the layers in different colors. For example, I make this one line art layer that I don't use right now. I make it blue, so I know, okay, I don't draw on the blue one. Or I just lock them in. But personally, I actually think that it's not that important to have a lot of separate layers. I also started to hatch. Is that the right word? To hatch, like to make multiple lines parallelly. To draw the shadows in the corners or try to suggest the form of a clothing. As you can see, I really like to do that. I think it gives the drawing and the line art a very interesting look. It gives the drawing a nice texture and it gives the drawing this vibe of like Cooper engravings. I think that's what it's called, and I really like them. Anyway, like I said, I really like when artists vary the line weight, and I also tried to do it in this drawing. I also decided to not use the vector lines for this, to make it feel more natural. Oh, and now we're putting the flat colors on. Yeah! So I wanted to make this drawing a print, a postcard actually, and I learned a while ago that you have to change the color settings to CMYK because right now it's an RGB. And even though I learned this like days before, I forgot it. And now the colors are not in print color and I'm really sad about that. But it's okay, I'm sure there's a way to adjust that. By the way, if you're wondering why I choose these colors specifically, it's not because I choose them, because I have no idea how to use colors. I really should learn color theory. To be honest, I just used her character reference sheet and picked the colors up. So normally I just use strong colors, I just use the colors in references. I don't even think about hues or something because it's just, I don't know, it's just really hard for me. I just use colors, very saturated colors, and I tend to pick every shadow color individually. But for this drawing specifically, I used a purple multiplier layer and a yellow overlay, I think, because they're complementary colors and I wanted the glow to really pop out. So you can see I'm trying to get a hang of soft and hard shadows. And I'm kind of trying to figure out if I want to stay with my paintery coloring or if I should use more cell shading, because I feel like when you're doing more of a paintery style, your line art doesn't pop out as much as you would like. If anyone has an idea how to make the line art still popping while coloring, please tell me. Personally, I really don't like to use multiply or to use any layer modes because I don't know how most of them work. And because I really like the saturated colors I use in my flat colors, I'm a bit sad when there's nothing left when I use these modes. But it's just because I don't know how to use them. There are tons of artists who really know what they have to do and looks amazing. I really have to learn how to use colors. Now we are going to the last steps of these drawings. I wanted to make the objects look like they are flying and moving, so I put a motion blur filter on them. I made them blurry in the background. And lately what I like to do is to color the inner lines, give them some color, while the outer lines are black. So, like I said before, the drawing is popping out more. It sometimes is a bit messy, but I think it's really cool. And here's the finished drawing. I gotta say I'm pretty proud of this one. I think I challenged myself with this drawing, with a new composition, with trying to make an interesting pose, making some kind of background. Maybe for the next time I would definitely use a reference or multiple references, and I would try to come up with a color scheme, because every time I'm trying to make an atmospheric drawing, I'm just playing around with all these layer modes and it's kind of a struggle to figure out what to do every time. But I like the process of experimenting and not knowing what will come out in the end. So I liked this drawing and I had a lot of fun. And this was my first voiceover speed painting ever. I hope you learned something from it or just had fun watching. Feel free to let me know what you think of the drawing or how you would have done certain things differently. Thank you so much for watching this. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like or subscribing to see more. See you in the next video. Bye!